zesters and graters are the perfect way to add a little bit of extra flavor to your dishes. I will go over a few of the ones that I have in my kitchen to show you what I like to use. So first of all, we'll take a look at some of these little handheld graters and zesters. On the left here is a microplane. It's very fine, and on the right is also a microplane, but it's coarse. You can kind of see the difference in the blades there. First, we'll go ahead and take a look at the differences when you zest an orange. The coarse one is going to give you fine strands of zest. I prefer to use this for times when I can strain out my zest, like for instance with if I'm infusing some vinegar, or I think we recently made some apple cider, like some mulled apple cider, and we strained it out then, and so that was fine. But for times when I'm going to leave the zest in the dish, like for pastry fillings, desserts and that kind of thing, I like to use the microplane with a very fine one because it gives little delicate strands of the zest. Okay, so let's go ahead and first look at the coarse one and some of the different ways that I like to use this. I like to use it for ginger if I'm just going to need to grate down about a knob or two of ginger to add to a dish or something, or maybe just go ahead and put some in my fridge to use for later. And then I have some frozen peppers. I like to freeze like jalapeno peppers, serrano peppers from the summer harvest, and I'll freeze them whole, and then I can just grate them right into breads and that kind of thing. And I also will use it only on this citrus, which is my kaffir lime tree fruit, and because it's very bumpy, it's very rough, and so I find that the coarse zester does a very good job of getting off just the green part of the fruit. Now, I always like to have some kind of citrus in my house for zesting, because in the evening or something I might want to throw together a little dessert, and I like to use zest. A lot of times I tend to use the orange zest for that type of thing, and so to ensure that I have it at all times, I freeze any kind of citrus that I have juiced. I'll freeze the rind or the peel of it, and I'll just put them in a Ziploc bag, and I'll put them in my freezer, and that way if I need them, they are there. Do keep in mind that if you do this, you need to use your coarse zester. For instance, right here I'm using a frozen orange rind, and I used my coarse zester for that. If you use your real fine one, it will dull it, and don't do that, because learn from my mistake. And then I also have the red handled here coarse zester. I like to use that to grate things like hard cheeses. And then we'll just take a quick look here at the fine zester, and that one I use only for fresh citrus zesting. I probably zest oranges more than anything else, and so I like to use the navel orange for that. I find it has a wonderful peel on it, and when you're zesting, and I'm just kind of turning this sideways so you can see it better, just go and zest in one direction first, and then turn it and get a little bit of another part of the peel, because you don't want to get into the white part of your peel. If you do that, you're going to start taking up some of the white, and it's a little bit bitter. And again, you can put your fresh citrus zest into dessert fillings, like this with some baklava, and I put a little bit of orange in there, and it just turned out really nice. If you have a piece of citrus and you just need a little bit of zest, I try to zest it first, a little bit off of it, and then that's where I'll cut my section from the fruit if I need a little bit to juice with as well. And then I can put that in a plastic bag. I can go in my refrigerator, and I can still use it for about the next 2 or 3 days. I like to use zest in salad dressings. That's a wonderful way to use it too. So now I want to show you nutmeg. Another thing that you've probably seen me use a lot in all of my cooking videos is nutmeg. I think I'm addicted to it. And so I always recommend using a whole piece of nutmeg and grinding that down, because it just releases such a wonderful flavor. It's not like buying it already ground. So whenever you can, just get you a fresh piece of whole nutmeg and grind it. And I have found the best thing to use with this is something almost everyone has in their house, is a box grater. If you'll use that fine side of your box grater, it produces a wonderful powder of nutmeg. This is with the box grater. And then I'll show you with the red handled. It's a little bit rougher, a little more, the pieces are a little bit bigger there. And then I have a special little nutmeg container that you saw earlier, and that does a good job as well, but the box grater does fine. And just one more note about the nutmeg little container there. I found that at just some kind of little shop one time, but it is nice to have it whenever I just need to grab my nutmeg real quick, because you can store the little pieces in there as well, and it has the little grater on top. You can probably find something like that on Amazon. Now the middle one here I'll show you. This is almost embarrassing. I've had it for about 15 years and it is so dull. I've used it for frozen citrus and nutmeg and everything else, and I just used it to no end, and so it became so dull that I just started grabbing my red handled Zester, the coarse one, for fresh citrus, and it was never work out for me. And I kind of just am the kind of person that just does cooking videos kind of off the cuff. I'll just say I'm gonna, cook something. I'll put the camera on it and cook away. And you can see here, I was just trying to get the zest off, and it was not coming off. So the coarse does not work well for a lot of your fresh citrus, especially if the rind is real smooth. I found that it won't zest it at all, and if it does, it's not good zest. So the microplane is definitely the way to go, the real fine one for your fresh citrus, and I would say only use it for fresh citrus, okay? So hopefully this will give you some ideas about other ways that you can add some flavor to your dishes, and thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.